Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, we are back on F1 2021 as always, and in today's video, we are back with some more league racing action, this time in the ORL League, which is on PC, which I race on Sundays at either 3 PM or 7 PM UK time. And you can see we are at Russia for this race, and this isn't a official round in the championship for the esports league. They're actually on a break week, so this is a social race, but the format is pretty much exactly the same. The only thing that has changed is instead of a full qualifying, it's a short qualifying because some people are having some difficulties with the connection. But other than that, it's exactly the same. Quite a lot of the same people are involved as well. And this track I have not done for a very long time. I think the only time I really do this track is at the beginning of the games when I do my hot lap and set videos, or we have it in a league, which most people or most leagues don't have this track on the calendar. And I think this is probably going to be the last time that we're going to be driving around the track in Russia for the foreseeable future. So that's why ORL decided to do this track. So I didn't really put that much effort into practicing for this one since it's not an official race. But of course, I always still like to perform. And you can see we've actually gone out on the mediums for our first lap, because I wasn't confident enough that my soft pace would be good enough for pole position or even the top two. So I decided to put everything into this medium lap and just see where it puts me on the grid, and then look to do the alternate strategy. So that's what I was solely focused on here right now, aiming to do one lap, but someone has actually hit the wall coming through the penultimate corner. We do a 30.8, which puts us up into P2 provisionally. So
not bad lap on mediums.
So yeah, I wasn't actually too displeased with that. And you can see, coming towards the end of the session, we actually were the last car to cross the line. So I went out on softs just to see if I was about 7 tenths up going to this penultimate corner, I would continue. But I decided to box because I'm actually sitting in P9 on mediums. But the only guy ahead of me on mediums is the ET8 of, I can't pronounce his name, but we're in the top 10 on mediums, and I was very happy that Danny is the world record holder around here at Sochi at 30.0. And yeah, as I said, if my lap was 7 tenths up, I probably would have continued to get the track position, but I was quite happy starting here on the alternate strategy in P9. So as the timer goes down, the formation lap wasn't set, and you can see here, I wasn't even paying attention, so thank God I actually looked as the lights were 5.
What? There's no formation lap.
So that could have been a very, very bad start. So I actually did get a slightly poor start because I wasn't fully prepared with the revs, but we have managed to save that to some degree. And now coming through into here, looks like one guy has disconnected ahead of me, so we're still maintaining our position in P9, but it's going to very quickly become P8 once it's AI. And you can see how fast the AI are, which is just very annoying as the McLaren is such going out wide. So this is my next rival. He is on these medium tyres, so he's fighting tooth and nail against Figdot up ahead, who's on the softs. And is he going to get this move done? Yes, he does. So the Ferrari lets him go through. He goes out wide, so I saw this as an opportunity to follow the McLaren through, and we go right outside of him, and fair play to Ferrari, leaving me plenty of room on the table there. And we have gone up into P7, which isn't too bad at all. And the setup I was running here was 10.7 wings, which I pretty much got from the time trial before this race. So again, didn't really tweak it too much, and we're just looking to settle into this race now. So as you come towards the end of lap 2, the goal is just to stay within the DRS zone, as the fast lap is a 33.7. We go across the line, it's a 34.2, so only half a second down on the mediums, which actually felt quite promising at this stage of the race. So now as we skip to the middle of lap 5, we've caught up to the second leading train. I think the top 3 has got away ever so slightly, but they are not too far down the road though. So the McLaren gets a very good exit. We've got, I think, how many DRS straights? We've got 2 DRS straights here, so this is the second one. And it looks like the McLaren is trying to get a little bit of track position, but as he comes through into here now, he's actually been spun round, and that has really helped my race now, because Nadi Perez, who qualified outside the top 10, used to be a F1 Esports Challengers driver, if I'm not mistaken. He started on some fresh set of mediums, and there's a bit of a gap to him. So if I can get past these guys, you can see the lead train really is not that far away. So the pace right now was looking very promising, and you can see the red light is also flashing as well, which is something you always love to see. So we're just going to sit tight, stay behind these guys, and just try and conserve our battery as much as possible. So coming through into this section, felt like I had a little bit more speed than the guys up ahead, and you can see the leaders again are still in view, so they haven't pulled away as much as I expected. So I really wanted to try and get past this Haas as quick as possible, because I knew he was very low on the ERS as well. So I was trying to get a really good exit coming off this corner, which we do, but then he's going to get the DRS from the car up ahead, which is the detection point is right here. So should be an easy overtake on Car Ma. I'm going to try and go for the overtake here, so try and get 2 and 1, but got down the inside, not fully committed, because it's just so easy for this contact model. All he would have to do is just turn in on me, and I would be the one spinning around, not him. So a bit of a half-hearted overtake there, but the race is still long. Still have 20 laps to go, and I can see the guy in P3 also has a 3-second time penalty. The top 3 are actually all together, so they're going to be under 5 seconds away in 7 laps. I was quietly feeling quite confident about this race all of a sudden, which I never would expect coming into Sochi, and with the current world record holder around this track as well, who Danny's got insane pace. I was expecting him to definitely be a little bit further up the road, as it looks like the Haas is not going to make it too difficult for us to overtake, and we get that move done nicely. So we are the lead medium runner, lapping quite closely to leaders, and you can see I think that gap is even actually starting to come down, because in practice the softs seem to wear out fairly quickly as well. So as we come into penultimate corner, it looks like Danny, the leader, the world record holder, has actually pitted, and that is very early. So either he was really struggling on his tyres, or he's going to try and get a big undercut on these other option runners. So as you're coming towards the end of that 9, you can see the gap has actually come down. So doing a really good job with the pace at the moment, and now they both decide to box. It looks like they could only manage about almost 10 laps on those tyres, which is good information for me. And I also have fresh softs to use as well, since I didn't even really bother using multiple sets of softs during the qualifying. So the gap behind Nadi Perez is 2 seconds. Over the course of 6 laps, he did actually get back within my DRS zone, but you can see the battery, we haven't really used it that much, because I wanted to conserve it for my soft stint. And you can see Danny in P4 is only 8 seconds behind, but with the softs coming at the end, again, I felt quite confident that we could even bring back this pace. And he's actually been caught by the guys behind as well. As you can see, Nadi Perez has gone into the pits there. And I wasn't really too bothered by this, because I knew that he'd probably catch up with traffic, and I wanted the fresh softs, the even fresher softs, go towards the end of the race. So you can see we're about to push the box this lap button right now, and coming through into our sector, maintain the gap quite nicely to the McLaren behind, who has done quite a good recovery of that spin. But then the safety car has now come out of nowhere, and what perfect timing this was. Absolute perfect timing. So now we are going to get the track position as well.
Perfect.
And usually I'm not very fortunate with the safety car, but on this occasion we have been extremely fortunate. But so far this race, I think we made the right decisions. And you can see I've changed my
I stayed out an extra
wing
lap.
to 9 as well. So I was running 10.7. Actually, I've changed it to 9.7 because I want a bit better straight line speed, especially since I'm now the lead car on track. And tyre wear isn't going to be much of an issue, since by the time the safety car comes in, we're going to have about 8 laps of this race to go. So, and I'm on fresh tyres as well, so it's not really going to be an issue in the slightest. So this has really worked out heavily in my favour, as you're about to see the wings again, that I have now put it to 9.7. So going on the mediums and now changing the wings to this. Let's see if it's paid off. Obviously, the alternate strat has definitely paid off so far. So now the safety car is going to come in. It's all about trying to get as good restart as possible. But ERS is going to be available in 3 laps time. So I don't have a free run to the end of the race. But as you can see, getting a really good restart here and catching Nardi Perez napping slightly. And that has really helped us as well, because that means I don't actually have to use that much ERS because I've turned it off quite early. He is not going to be close enough for the overtake going into here. And now we are actually going to stay on board for the rest of this race, because as always, I always like to show as much footage as possible, not only for entertainment, but also hopefully people can learn some things into as well. And I think this race really shows that you don't need to always be the fastest driver to maximize your results. And I think, if anything, there are so many drivers who have the pace and speed, but they either do the wrong decisions, the wrong strategy, or they just tend to overdrive themselves. And I think that's why you see a lot of people who are very, very good over a qualifying lap, who can push the limit all the time. But then in the race, you just can't do that. Otherwise, you're just going to become very inconsistent. And you can see here, a lot of people would probably think, why am I not using the ERS? And the reason for that is that I think it'd be very unlikely that I'm going to break out of the DRS zone of Nardi Perez. And even if I did, and he just saved his ERS, if he was able to get back within my DRS again, that would just put me in a very vulnerable position. So right now, I wasn't really interested in breaking out of the DRS because I knew it'd be quite a difficult task, and I'd just be putting myself in a very, very poor position battery-wise if I either came to defend, or if someone overtook me towards the end of the race, they're just going to have so much more battery than me. I just wouldn't have enough to attack in the way I would. So what I'm thinking here right now is to try and drive as fast as I possibly can without using any of the battery. That was really the goal. And I was also thinking that I didn't really want to be the last, or the first car, sorry, going into the last lap as well. And I wanted to give myself as much battery as possible in the lap before to get really close, and then on the last lap to do the attack. So those were the thoughts that were currently running through my head at this time. So you can see again, we're not using any of the battery, and you can see he's managed to get quite tucked up in my slipstream as well. So that idea didn't really seem worth it to me in order to break out of it, because again, even if I had more pace than Perez, once Danny gets to DRS and he flies past him, he might have enough momentum to get back in my DRS, and then I have nothing to defend with. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense, because I think a lot of times I'm definitely quite cautious with the ERS, but I think most of the time it can always be a good thing. You can see Now, these two guys are actually attacking each other, which is a good thing for me because they are just wasting their battery just that little bit more. And I think next lap is actually going to be the DRS enabled as well. So you can see it's actually the top three who have managed to pull a little bit of a gap to the second McLaren, which is a good thing because less cars, less things to worry about, and the pace actually felt really good on this soft tyre. I think we could have actually done enough to get pole if we did a really good first sector, but you can see, go through this big section with the 9.7 wings, it just gave me that little bit more stability, and it's going to give me a pretty good straight line speed as well. So I think the change definitely came into effect nicely. And what I'm also thinking at this stage is I want to be the second man in this DRS train. But since the straight is so long at Sochi, it's quite easy, as we saw earlier in the race, to be overtaken by two cars in one go. So I wanted to make sure I was far enough ahead of the guy in third place so that he didn't have the ability to overtake me as well. I only wanted the man in second place to overtake me. And you can see as these guys are so close together, it's good that I got a really good exit coming off this final corner. And that was the key. Making sure in the final sector that I absolutely maximized it as much as possible. So now Danny, the world record holder around here, is now in P2 in this race, and he is just absolutely rapid. He's someone I actually used to race with on Xbox quite a long time ago in the TRSOL leagues, and he was just ridiculously fast back then as well. But now, again, my thoughts are just to maximize it. So going through these corners, I was particularly committed. So before every DRS zone, I always wanted to make sure I maximized it as much as possible. So you can see, again, being nice and disciplined with the ERS. A lot of people would be very tempted to use it in this situation, but I was trying to, just be as disciplined as I could because I knew that I'm going to need it in the last two laps. So coming through to here, it's through these courses again. I really want to try and maximize it as much as I can, and you can see he's actually quite close on this occasion. So using all of the track coming through these last two corners and getting a pretty good exit. So now we're using the ERS here because, again, I don't want Perez to be in a position to overtake, but it looks like it's quite clear that Danny doesn't want to be the car ahead at the moment. So he wants to try and conserve his ERS as well. So we were being quite mindful of that. Still got plenty of ERS on board as well. And now I was thinking to myself that, okay, it's quite clear that he's got the pace. I want one of these cars to go past me so I can be the second man in this DRS train. So I'm not really going to push particularly hard through these sectors because I want Danny to be as close to me as possible. So he has pretty much no option but to go for that overtake. So coming through into here, do we use any of the ERS? The answer is no. But again, I can quite clearly see that he is trying to hold back at this stage as well. So now as we come through into the Sector 3, I knew this was the time that I really did need to let him pass going down this main straight. Because if I waited for the next lap, then it might put myself in a very vulnerable position. So coming through into here, we want him to be as close as he can. So coming through into the sequence of corners, trying to get a good exit just to make sure we are far enough away from Perez, but close enough to Danny. So you can see using a bit of the boost, and we are just going to let him go. So we have opened the door completely for him here, and Perez is just not close enough. So this is exactly what I wanted at this stage of the race. But I knew here now that Danny is going to try and break my DRS because I knew he felt confident in his pace, and I think this is his only opportunity he actually has now. He couldn't afford to stay behind there, otherwise he'd be under attack from Perez. So he was kind of forced to do that overtake, and I can see here now that he is really pushing to try and get out of my DRS zone. But the thing is, since we've actually saved quite a lot of the ERS, we are still in a very good position ourselves. And I can see by the way he's driving, he's really pushing this car. And it's very easy to overheat the tyres around this circuit. So coming through here, we turn off the ERS nice and early because our straight line speed with the 9.7, we are going to be absolutely rapid in a straight line. And you can see we're almost back on his gearbox once again. And he's going very deep here. So I'm not sure if this is a little bit of tactics at play. That's what it kind of feels like to me. So I think he quickly realised that he's not going to break out of my DRS. And he needs me to actually re-overtake him again. So coming off here, this is the crucial lap, because last lap is when I need to do the overtake. So I'm going to use a bit of the ERS. But again, with our straight line speed so good, Perez seems to be really lacking in a straight line. So we actually turn off the DRS and we are going to wait for this last lap. And there's absolutely nothing that Danny can do. If I refuse to overtake, unless he decides to break off the racing line, then he's vulnerable to being overtaken by Perez. So I'm in the perfect position right now. I'm in a two-man DRS train where I've got a car right behind me. So if Danny tries to let me pass, he's going to put himself at risk to going back to third place as well. So it's all about being as close as possible going into the final corner. We have another DRS zone coming up here, but I didn't want to overtake him into this section because otherwise he's going to be in a box seat. So coming off this corner, we're going to use a little bit of the ERS just to defend from Perez, but then we decide to turn it off, and what we're going to do is we're just going to block the road here, so there's no way for Perez to do anything. He could go around the outside of me there, but that's going to be a risk. And again, we have just positioned ourselves perfectly for this last lap, and with the extra straight line speed with the 9.7 wings, which I think Danny was running 10.7 wings, I knew we would have a big advantage in a straight line. So now as you come through into this last corner, it's all about getting a good exit, and we are within half a second. You can see we're already closing in before the DRS detection point. Now we get the DRS, and you can just see there's absolutely nothing he can do. We're going to get back on the racing line pretty comfortably as well. So coming through into here, now it's just about pushing. You can see another squiggle from the back end. So it looks like he is having a car that's quite lively and difficult to drive as well. So I'm going to try and stretch him as much as possible. Go through this last sector. You can see we've got a pretty decent gap going into this first sector, but it's really only this last, or the middle sector with the DRS zone. But the problem is, going through these sequence of corners, it's really hard to follow, and we have a lot of ERS on board. We saw how much better our straight line speed was as we get such a good exit coming off that left. Now coming through to it, let's see what kind of exit we get. We get a really good exit once again, and we're still putting away in a straight line. And with the ERS and the straight line speed, he is not going to be close enough. So coming through to it, let's see what happens. As we go through to it, looks like they made a collision behind, and the 2 arrows have gone. And you're about to see, we're going to have a little bit of a sigh of relief on the exit of this corner. And cue your headphones as we come around the penultimate corner. Now into last. Make sure you turn down the volume as come across the line.
Oh, yes! Come on!
That is my first competitive win on PC.
First win on PC.
Which
nice.
I am very happy with. So, yeah, didn't quite have the Haddad or Beresne in this race, but when you have the world record holder, it's not a bad level of competition as well. So, thank you so much. Hopefully you enjoyed that race. Hopefully you learned something as well. Really appreciate the support on the channel. And I will be catching you very soon. Peace.
There's a legacy between us. We cross